Kicks 105.5 WKXH. Good morning, I'm JJ. It is Wednesday, September 7th at 7:50 and currently 62 degrees outside the studio. I'll tell you more about the weather at the top of the hour, but right now we are going to talk with Mike Barrett from the Barrett Insurance Agency. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. How are you?
I am staying dry.
That's good. It's supposed to be a good day today. Once the fog clears off, going to have a nice day. What, in the 70s from what I gathered. So
Yeah,
we'll take it.
The next couple of days is actually going to be pretty good.
Yep. But you know what? We needed the rain, thank goodness. So, yeah, I'm now at that old man stage where when it rains, I go, yep, we needed it.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to get any rain throughout the whole rest of the week or the weekend.
Yeah, so at least we got some, which is good. So for good policies this morning, what I thought we would talk about is a little thing called deductibles. Deductibles.
The D word.
The D word. Deductibles are pretty important, and they're also really a personal decision, what you feel most comfortable with. So what is a deductible? Let's start with auto insurance. Auto insurance deductibles, those apply to three things on an auto policy, okay? A deductible applies to uninsured motorist protection, for uninsured motorist property damage, my apologies. That's a maximum limit of $10,000 subject to a $150 deductible. That's if you have like a hit and run or somebody with no insurance hits your car. Then if you have it, comprehensive coverage, also known as other than collision, which we've talked about, that has its own deductible. That can be a deductible of your choosing, anywhere from $0 to maybe even as high as $5,000, depending on the company. And then collision, very similar. Collision is something that if you have, again, you can choose the deductible. Typically, the lowest collision deductible I see is $100, but again, it can go pretty high. Not all the companies out there go as low as a $0 deductible. Some do. Some start at $50, some start at $100, some start at $250. So it's really about a conversation that you have at the inception of the policy as you're dialing it in. Let's talk about a homeowner deductible, and then I'll tell you all about deductibles. Homeowner deductible, you only have one, and that's going to apply to your home. Well, sorry, you don't only have one, you have three. I'm a liar. It's going to apply to your home, your other structures, and to personal property. And that deductible with most companies is once you pick the limit, it's applied to all three. There are some companies that allow you to have one deductible for the structures and maybe a lower deductible for personal property. That can range anywhere from $250 to $5,000 as well. So a deductible is what you have to feel comfortable paying out of pocket when you have a loss. So let's say I had a house fire and the damage to my house was minimal. Thank God, right? It was a $10,000 loss. Well, if I have a $1,000 deductible, the insurance company is paying me $9,000 because I chose to keep that first $1,000 as my exposure. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So same will apply to auto insurance, all right? So if you hit a moose or if you have a windshield claim and you chose a $100 deductible, you are going to have $100 out of pocket. So if you have $5,000 damage, they're going to give you a check for $4,900, and you're responsible for the $100 deductible. And just to throw a little curveball, many companies, in fact, almost all companies now offer the ability for a $0 glass deductible on car insurance. Get it, because it's perfect to have. But deductibles are a very, very important decision because there's two reasons why I think it's very important. One is that if you have the lowest deductible, you're not getting any savings, right? So if the company's lowest deductible, the example that I give is $250, and that's what you have, you're not getting any credit. Whereas if you went to $500 deductible, maybe you're going to save a couple $100. Maybe if you went to $1,000 deductible, you'll save a couple more $100, right? So it's about leveraging your costs. It's also about leveraging your comfort level with what you're comfortable with paying out of pocket if a loss was to occur. But the most important thing that I tell people is not about the savings. What is the likelihood of calling it a claim? All right. On auto, it's pretty likely. So people typically will keep a lower deductible there. In fact, I encourage that. On the home, if you're kind of a do-it-yourselfer and afraid to call claims in or, well, I can take care of that myself. Well, by no means should you have the lowest deductible available, because then you're paying more for your insurance than you really should be, because you're not taking full advantage of having that lower deductible. So if you have a $1,000 claim and you take care of it yourself, then you should have a $1,000 deductible, because then you're leveraging the policy in a way that works to your advantage.
So the higher the deductible, the lower your rate.
Yes, and there can come a time on many policies that once you've hit a certain, like I think the sweet spot deductible really is $1,000 in homeowners policies, because I think once you go to the next limit, which is $2,500, rather than saving a couple of $100, many times I'm only seeing maybe a couple of dollars, maybe tens or 20s,
Yep,
10 or
not a
20
whole
bucks.
lot.
It's not worth it at that point from my perspective, unless you're really a catastrophic loss type person where that's all you want coverage for. But it's a personal decision. It's something that if you're married, you and your spouse should have a conversation about, so that you're both on the same page, so that when a loss occurs, you're prepared for what your out-of-pocket exposure may be. But by all means, go through the cycle, and the cool part about this is this morning, as we're talking about deductibles, and somebody might be out there going, well, I don't know what my deductible is. Most people don't. That's pretty par for the course. But let's say you pull your policy out and you look, my God, I have a $250 deductible. Well, you know what? If you don't think you need that low, call your agent and check and say, hey, how much would it cost if I went from a $250 to a $500? And they'll tell you. How much if I go to $1,000? And they'll tell you that too. Then you can make a very educated decision on finding a deductible that works specifically for your needs.
Makes sense.
Voila.
Makes sense.
The magical world of deductibles.
Magic. Can we make it disappear?
It's funny you say that. Yes, you can. So, for some lines of business, Progressive's famous for this on their motorcycles and snowmobiles and even boats, as they have deductible, they call it the disappearing deductible. Yeah, it's like a magic trick, right? So you can buy this additional piece of coverage at a very incidental cost. It's very small, but for every year that you've gone without a claim, your deductible gets shaved down. So I've seen people start with a $500 deductible that all of a sudden may have a $155 deductible or however they do their metrics. So it really can disappear in many cases. And there are some instances where they will waive a deductible, which has to fire on all cylinders to have that handled. Let's say you have a total home fire or any kind of a loss at your house where you have loss to your home and your personal property. Many times they'll only hit you with one deductible in that case rather than both. So there are times where you won't see them all applied, but it's the wonderful world in which we live. So
Okay, one last question.
Go for it.
Before we got to go here. So with the disappearing deductible,
Uh-huh.
now when they lower that deductible, that doesn't raise your rate.
Not at all.
Your rates will stay the same.
Exactly.
Just
The
that
rate,
your deductible will be diminishing.
it's just a diminishing deductible. It's just an additional advantage of the policy that you have. So, yeah, you're not going to see an increase. The only increase you would see is if there's a rate increase or a value increase in the unit that you're insuring. But otherwise, no other change.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, we are just about out of time. If somebody wants to reach out to you and talk about insurance, how do they do that?
Give us a call, 748-5224. You can find us in Portland Street in St. Johnsbury, online, thebarrettagency.com, Google, Facebook, and YouTube. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency.
Well, thank you so much, Mike, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Sounds like a plan.
Mike Barrett from the Barrett Insurance Agency right here in St. Johnsbury on Kicks 105.5. Good morning, and we got your news coming right up.